Welcome to Triple B, where we are Black, beautiful, and brave.
Where our goal is to inspire and empower Black single women to embrace their beauty and to be brave. I'm Candy.
I'm Ayana, and we are your hosts.
Thank you for joining us today on our Black, Beautiful, and Brave podcast. Why Black? Why beautiful? Why brave?
We created this space for several reasons: to hear from a Black Christian woman's perspective, to empower single women.
We want to address issues that affect Black women from our lenses, not the males, not the society, the world, not the church, our perspective.
Everybody has something to say about Black, single Christian women except us.
Oftentimes, Black women's voices are in a box.
We are not a monolith.
Everyone has something to say about Black professional and non-professional Christian women who are single.
But no more. Enough.
It is our time to talk transparently and to create change.
All right, let's go. Let's do it.
We want the rest of the world to hear what we talk about.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black, Beautiful, and Brave.
That's right. We are Black, beautiful, and brave, and we're here for another episode, another exciting episode today.
So, Candy, what are we talking about today?
Listen. I think today we're going to talk about situationships, or just the state of romantic relationship with Black men and women. Because that's what we are. We're Black women.
That's right. Right? And we're talking about relationships with Black men.
Black
in particular.
Yeah. In particular that's right. Black men. And that's quite an interesting topic nowadays, right?
Yes.
Because of where we are in this society, where a lot of Black women prefer Black men.
Right.
And I think I've heard you say before that not all Black men prefer Black women.
That is true. That is true. But we're not talking about that specifically today, but instead we are focusing on situationship, because that's a whole other topic with the Black men and the brothers preferring us or not.
Or maybe just situationships in general.
Yes.
Situationships. And so when you think about situationship, I'm sure you have heard or maybe have been in a situationship or a situation with the opposite sex where it wasn't clear or the relationship was not clearly defined.
Right. So let's first define situationship, because in my mind, that's just another term for what in my time we'd call friends with benefits. Right. So just exactly what do we mean by situationship?
Okay. And so when I go online and look up situationships at dictionary.com, of course.
Oh, yes. Very reliable source.
It says a romantic or sexual relationship that is not considered to be formal or established. Basically, in the sentence below it, it says, I'm trying to turn our situationship into something more serious.
Right. So I would say right now, if you're listening, some of us, especially ladies, we are in some kind of situationship. Right. So there's someone you like, you've been in this thing, you've been doing a back and forth kind of dance for a little while. Right. But you're saying that is you want to turn it into a relationship. But what's keeping you back?
Sometimes it's not the woman. It could be the man.
Okay.
I think as women, we desire a relationship. Men do too.
Right.
But we can only speak from our perspective.
Right.
That you may desire a relationship with someone. And nowadays, I guess relationship has changed to where it's not, hey, I like you, let's be together. It's more so, let's start talking and to get to know one another, right? And the talking phase can be extended longer than what it normally would have been extended to back in, I would say, the olden days. But
I don't know what she's talking about with the olden days.
But I would say just a few generations before, right? Yeah. When young people liked each other. I mean, just think about when you were in school or when I was in school, in middle school or elementary school, you send a note that says, do you like me? Yes or no? And if you do, would you be my girlfriend? Yes or no? And we don't see that anymore. It's more so, let's talk, let's get to know each other. We'll go on dates. But we have yet to establish our exclusivity to one another. It's like, oh, it takes months sometimes.
So what I hear you saying is we don't write as much and maybe establish even some grounds, some similarities, or some areas that we are comfortable. Rather than that, we kind of just go through this talking phase, and through that phase, we kind of get to know each other.
Right. I think I don't know why we think that once you make your relationship exclusive, it makes it hard to get out of. And I think that's why people will extend the time that they're getting to know each other. And, because I don't want to enter or rush into anything too serious.
Right.
But just because you're in a relationship with someone, an exclusive relationship with someone, doesn't mean you can't get out of.
Right. So then is that where the situationship comes in? Because I'm trying to understand the situationship concept. So if I'm like, I don't want to rush into this relationship, and this could be either for male or female, right? I don't want to rush into this relationship. I'm taking time talking to this person. So let's say me, Ayana, I'm talking to John, right? And I think he's a cool guy, he's a nice guy. But then there is Larry on the other side, who is also a nice guy and a cool guy. So I'm talking to both of them at the same time.
Right.
But that's just talking. I don't see that's not a problem. How is that a situationship?
A situationship would be more so, okay, you may decide, I'm only going to talk to Larry.
Right.
I really like Larry. Larry and I may have exchanged words that we are interested in each other. You start acting as if you are in an exclusive relationship, yet you have yet to define the relationship as exclusive. Larry may still call you, oh, this is my friend, not my girlfriend. This is just my friend. And the same thing you will say, he is your friend versus your male friend. You're not exclusive. You have yet to say that. Okay. Larry could be also continuing to meet people. And you may decide that, what was the other guy name?
John, I think John.
John? Okay,
John.
yeah. You may decide that I'll just keep John hanging around, I may or may not, right? Some women, they may date with in mind of, I'm just getting to know one person. But your Larry never solidified and said, this is what I want to do. He doesn't take you out to meet his family, not making it known that this is my woman.
Wow. So right? Is that something then, so with the situationship, is it that he knows it's a situationship and I don't know, or vice versa?
Everybody knows.
Or do we both know? Oh, okay.
And sometimes sometimes the vibe that you get or the response that you get, we're just vibing, we're just chilling, we're just getting to know one another.
Okay.
When a woman may ask, so what are we? We're just chilling, we're just hanging out, right? Sometimes that can include sexual intimacy.
Right. So we're bringing sex into the mix now.
You can. I'm not saying it's always, but you can.
Okay.
And oftentimes it's there, it's present, right? A guy is getting his physical needs met.
Right.
Whereas the relationship has yet to have been established on we're being exclusive. And it could be a conversation that could be made where if we're having intimacy with one another, just know it's just you and I. And we may agree to that, but we have yet to agree that we are in an exclusive relationship.
So we both know it's a situationship. So can you be in this relationship with Larry, or can I be in this relationship with Larry, whether it's physical, whatever form it takes, or just talking or whatever, and he knows the situationship and I don't? Or must both parties always know? Or do both parties always
Sometimes both parties may not know. A woman can be delusional in her state.
Oh, really? So not the man being crazy and cheating. So it's a woman being delusional.
Yeah.
Really?
It can happen. Where she thinks, oh, I'm in a relationship with him. Right? And then she may get upset.
Ladies, you're hearing this?
She may get upset if she sees him. Oh, I saw you talking to so-and-so. What's going on? And he'll respond, you know what it was.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, we're just getting to know each other. This is my other friend.
All right. So let me just say for the record that if I know I'm in a situationship, then I'm not, because I'm not doing it. So definitely have to be one of those who is maybe delusional, but I don't think I am delusional. So if I'm with you, you need to say that up front. If I'm talking with you, I'm talking with you, not with anyone else. And I'll say that because I can be like, well, John is talking to me, Larry's talking to me. What are we?
Right.
And if you don't know what we are, then I'm okay. That's all right. We are friends. Right. That's it.
And it can go both ways. I'm not trying to dog men out, that they're the ones who are doing that. So same thing, women can string men along.
Right.
I agree. For their needs, their purpose, getting their bills paid, getting their, and women, some women do that as well, just to take advantage of men that they have no true desire to establish a long-term relationship with.
So what about Christian women? Do you think, or do you know of any Christian women? Because we say this podcast is about, Black, beautiful Christian women. Do you think as Christian women, we find ourselves involved in these situationships?
Yes.
What? That was a quick answer.
Very quick. Only because
Why?
I have heard stories, firsthand stories of women in their situationships.
Wow.
And sometimes if they're with other men who are in church.
Wow.
There's a thought out there that I've heard a lot of young women mention that in certain denomination, men outnumber women.
Which denomination would that be? Not ours.
Yeah. Some Christian denominations, women outnumber men, and men have the picking.
Oh, we have the woman, right? We know the one with the woman.
That's what I meant to say.
Oh, because I'm like, which one?
I'm sorry. Women outnumber the men.
Right.
And therefore the men have the picking of who they want, but have a hard time picking. They're just enjoying themselves being the catch of the town. And so, yeah, they will not commit with fear of missing out on something better or something that may happen, that may be possible. Right. And so I think that's what I believe when I hear different situations like that from younger women, my age and younger, and even younger, especially those who then enter the professional realm or professional school, and there are other men who are there as well, and they may not decide to date any of these other women that are around, or just start talking to this person, start talking to that person, start talking to this person, versus deciding.
Right. And I'm okay with you not deciding as long as you're aware that we are friends.
Yeah,
that's it.
Sometimes.
Punto final, nothing else.
But you can talk.
Nada más.
But you can talk to someone. But for how long do you talk? How long?
We can talk forever as friends. We can talk forever. You want to talk, you want to have a conversation, you have some issues you're dealing with, and you're my friend, well, we can talk. We just will have nothing else going on. And I'm going to be very clear about that. Because I have a lot of male friends, and I'm not ditching my male friends for anybody else unless that person has clearly stated what their intentions are. And even then, I cannot promise to ditch my male friends for you, because I don't expect you to get rid of your female friends for me.
So is there a difference between the men that you are talking to as friends with a man that you have placed in a friend zone? Are they now in the friend zone, meaning there's nothing romantic, there's no romantic interest in them, versus what I hear you saying is that even though there may be a romantic interest, but until we define a relationship, we're just friends? Is it friends with potential to be romantic, or friends that there's no potential of a romantic, simply platonic?
So I think there are friends who are simply platonic, and that could be for various reasons, right? So you could have friends who are married, right? Mm-hmm. That's platonic, right? Then you have friends who you are friends, and based on life circumstances, can start to think about the possibility of a relationship because you already have that ground, that foundation, that friendship foundation. So that's how I would define it. There are some who will be always platonic because of, right, they're already married, or they might have a particular illness or for whatever reason. So they're just platonic. But then there are friends who you can think of potential relationships. But again, that you have to have that discussion.
Could you not have a platonic friendship where that none of those situations are relevant? However, you're just not romantically or attracted to this person.
That's true. But, what I've learned getting older is that, as you get older, different things matter in relationships. And one of the more important things with being in a relationship is knowing that that person has your back. And you know what they went through. They kind of know what you went through, and they still accept you as you are.
As a friend or as
a person,
romantic potential?
As a person, I think, because I think, when I look at older couples, because when you look at older couples, it's not like they're walking around all lovey-dovey, holding hands, falling all over yourself, things like you do in your younger stages of life. But as you get older, you want to know that, yes, there is that spark, but part of that spark comes from knowing that this person is someone who you absolutely trust and someone who loves you just the way you are, can compliment you, love spending time with you. Things that we assume are given when you're younger, and somehow we think that easily translates into 20, 30 years of a good relationship. It does not, right? So I think I can see platonic relationships that do grow, but that's, again, depending on the circumstances and if things change. But for the most part, the majority of the males in your life are going to be friends, right? Because you can only marry one at a time, unless you're going to do one of those plural type relationships, where you have the multiple, possibly the multiple husbands or multiple wives, right? And where they say what they marry, like one, they might marry one, and then the others, everyone just kind of lives. And I've seen the shows with the ladies who is one lady and like 2-3 guys.
Yeah, those polyamorous?
Polyamorous relationships.
Right. The practice of having multiple intimate relationships.
That's right. That's right.
That's quite interesting. I think that just may be a different thought between generations as far as women and their friends. Like, there's some men that you put in a friend zone as women or younger women or what have you. You're like, yeah, there's no potential. Once you're in the friend zone, you're in jail. You can't come out. It's like you can't come out of a friend zone. Whereas, you could be a friend with a potential interest.
True.
Right?
True.
And so I know, at least for me, I think that I may have that. I have some friends who are, you're friend zone, you're platonic. There's this.
But why? Why do we just completely
maybe there's something I know
friend
about
zone
you.
some people? Well, that too.
Maybe there's some characteristics that I know this ain't gonna work.
I know, but there are some good guys too who we friend zone, right? Because we also have this picture in our heads of who we think that ideal male is. And I think especially when you're younger, you friend zone a lot of potentially good guys, and your parents are like, "Oh, that's a really good guy," and you're like,
yeah,
right. But years later, come to realize that the qualities your parents were seeing were actually quite good qualities, and those guys turned out to be, good husbands, good men, But you just never give them the light of day.
Vice versa, with men as well.
Of course.
As far as friend zoning girls.
Yes.
Because she doesn't meet that standard of beauty.
Right, that he's looking for, without realizing that a lot of girls, sometimes you don't reach, the height of your full, at least physical beauty potential until sometimes in your 30s. I've seen girls that I've grown up with and in church, and when I looked at them, all the boys were never really into them. But now if you see them now, they look like beauty stars.
Wow.
Right? And I'm not talking necessarily with all the additions. We women, we can add on all these pieces, add and take off pieces at will.
That's right.
It's just about over time, even your skin, the person who had ton of pimples growing up, right? Suddenly you leave, you come out of puberty, you're working, you're doing well, you can go to a dermatologist, get your skin done, go to the orthodontist, get your teeth straightened. I mean, so many things that when people see you next, they're like, what? Right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I just wish that, as a society, that we remove all of those distractions from young people as far as this is what you need to look for. This is what beauty is versus looking at the beauty of inside of a person.
Right.
And I think that maybe back in the golden days, if you would say, there weren't as many distractions, right? And people were able to get married more often to one another because they didn't have this so-called standard that they were looking for.
Right.
Nowadays, it seemed easy to get a baddie, regardless of a man or a woman, right? Someone who looks great, someone who's doing well. Like, oh, that's a potential, and everybody feel like they are supposed to get with a baddie because the Lord knows the desires of my heart. All I have to do is ask, and the Lord will provide. But is that what the Lord really wants for you? And is that person's character a character that that will mesh with you,
Right.
and that would help, to establish a long-lasting relationship?
And I think the focus was different, many years ago, even not going back as far as biblical days, but even back to our parents' days, where the aim was merely more to make sure that everybody, like all the daughters get married, the sons get married. There might be a nice girl down the street, right? And granted, the son himself, he may know that there are other girls who maybe look a little bit more attractive, but the point is, he would have been quite happy just to make sure he's married, right? But yes, we do have a lot of distractions. Social media does a poor job of showing us who or what beauty is, what that looks like, So really it is tough. And some of the data I was looking at, because I was reading a 2014 study done on HBCUs in the South. And even in the discussions, they were saying like, typically on an HBCU campus, you would see like the women like 6-1. But when they actually sat down with the women and men in these heterosexual straight men and women in this school, in the study, they found that the women were thinking in their minds that it was like 10 women to 1 man or 5 women to 1 man. But actually, for the actual study, and when they actually did the data for that particular college or university, it was, well, they say 2.5 women to 1 man.
Wow.
So mentally, if we as women start to even rethink how we visualize this, the ratio of women to men, because we get defeated even before we get out of the gate, right? Because everyone tells us that there are more eligible black women compared to eligible black men. But basically, again, what the researchers found, the reality was, instead of being the envisioned 10-1, 5-1, it was more like 2.5 black women to one man.
At this particular university.
Yes. And it's not the first time I've heard that. Like I've heard other speakers talk about the ratio of black women to black men, and it's actually still closer. It was closer to more like a 50-50, but again, it's different. It depends on, of course, the sources of your data. And I think, one of the things they say for us as the women now, so when we feel we are outnumbered, we are outnumbering the men, we think, of course, there are less black men, less eligible black men, so therefore we are willing to accept some things that we otherwise would not have accepted, whether it's back in the day, right, 50 years ago versus now. So leading us back to the situationship. Like, why would I, as a right-minded, intelligent, articulate, beautiful black woman who's educated, be willing to accept being in a situationship?
Because she may not feel like she has any other options.
Why?
Because there's no other options knocking at her door. You know, sometimes I think that when we're in a situationship, it's not because I'm just Or it could be that you're just focused on one guy, and this is the guy that you want, who really, in essence, don't want you, but just holding you around. It could be, no, there's no other guys knocking on the door either, right?
But it's okay, though. You don't have to have a guy knocking at your door. So is it that you have to have someone, and that's the next thing. Do you have to have someone with you all the time as a woman?
It's not all having someone with you all the time. I think that, to be honest, sometimes women, we like the attention.
Right.
We like the attention that we may get from someone else to text you, hey, how you doing? You know, did you eat? Or
You can get it from your mom.
Ma'am,
and your
no.
dad.
Ma'am, no.
They can't, and you know they text all the time or call because they don't like to text. Right? Me personally, I prefer a call. They don't like to text, they'll call. And it's the same questions. Hey, did you eat? You know,
ma'am.
I'm
No,
making
it's
something
different.
for you. Well, okay, well, tell me what's the
different.
difference?
It's
Because
different.
it is about relationships and about being in a position where you're comfortable, where you're safe.
It's the idea of a potential relationship, that this might be an idea. This is someone's potential. They may decide to be with me. So therefore, I'm just going to stick around. I'm going to be
And take
here.
crap from them.
It's not crap. I don't feel like it's crap.
If
At the
someone
time-
is
at the time of the situation, the agreement is, it could be that we're hanging out, we do dinner together, we may cook together, we may go out together, we may talk on the phone together, but we just have yet to establish that, you know, we're taking our time through this process.
okay, so y'all not seeing my face. I'm giving Candy all the facial expressions. So you're doing this with me and you're doing this with someone else.
You could be. I'm not saying you are. You could be, and you might not be.
Right, but if it's a situationship that we're both aware of, let's say I'm okay with it. So you're doing all these things with me, taking me out to dinner.
He may
we're
say he
cooking
has
together.
friends. He has friends at other places. Yeah, I have friends.
I'm okay with that. Once we know what the deal is. If the deal is that we are in a situationship, or you say it's a situationship, and you're taking me out one day, you're taking someone else out the other day, you tell me. Because from the day you tell me, I'm out.
The thing
I'm
is,
like an Uno out.
I don't think people say, "Hey, do you want to enter into a situationship with me?"
But you said
that's not what
before.
people do. That's
But
not
you-
what people do.
Right, but you said before that they do is something that, for the most part, you'd want both parties to know, like both parties should know.
It's a vibe, right?
Right.
We're getting to know each other. That's
Right.
what a situation where they may say, women or men may say, we're just getting to know each other.
Right, and you can do that because you do
And
take
that's how,
time.
and getting to know each other can go past just having friendly conversations on
Right.
the phone.
Right.
It's spending time together. It's going out. It could include sexual intimacy, right? Which is, we're just getting to know each other.
Right,
And it
but then
may-
where does it become a situation? Because when I meet
that
someone,
is the situation.
right? Because when I meet someone, you need to spend time. Granted, you're talking, whatever. You need to spend time to know each other, right? So I don't think you can expect that if you meet someone today, that they're going to drop every other relationship that they're in just to spend time with me or with you.
So that's what I was saying. I was
Right.
referring to back long time ago. Sometimes that's what it was.
Right.
You know, you may meet someone, speak with them for 1 day, 2 days, and you're like, this is it.
Right.
And you drop everybody else.
Right.
Whereas now you may not.
Right.
You're
And-
like, all right, I'm going to get to know this person. I'm getting to know that person. I'm
Right.
getting to know. No one goes around and say, I'm going to enter in a situationship. You find yourself to be in a situationship where you're getting to know someone, and it's surpassing a time frame that you may think that we should have been in a relationship by now.
Okay, so
we're
that's-
still doing things to getting to know each other that should have led to
Right.
a exclusive relationship. So you find yourself to be in a situationship versus choosing to be in a situationship.
So no one talks about it. Like it's just you're just doing these things.
And a woman can say, so what are we doing? And
Right.
the guy said, we're just getting to know each other.
Right.
We're
right.
just vibing.
No,
getting to know each
not
other.
happening. Not with me. Not with me. I don't. That's ridiculous. I honestly, if I meet someone and they want to spend time with me, and I understand they're spending time with me, and you're still spending time with, that's fine. That's fine. Because I just met you. You just met me. We're now getting to know each other. That's great. That's fine.
So how long does it take for you, or what are your expectations in getting to know someone? How long does it take for you to get to know someone that you are then requiring? Are we in a relationship or are we not?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months of talking.
3 months of talking, we could go out, we could hang out. I mean, like, if after that amount of time, you don't know what you're for, what you want, you are still like, well, I'm just getting to know. I'm like, great, we're friends, period. Right? So if after, let's say, and I'm just saying 3 months, actually it could be, it's not going to be more. I'll tell you that. It could be less. Because if after the second or third time we go out, I'm like, I'm not feeling this, something's not right.
You're out.
I'm out. And I'm okay with it.
The vibe that you get.
And not just the vibe. So I'm going beyond vibe. It's going to be the Holy Spirit. Because I'll be praying and asking God to guide this relationship, guide me through this friendship process. And it is a friendship. I'm not looking at you to say, well, okay, he asked me out, so therefore the second date, this is my man, this is my husband. No, I don't know you, right? I'm getting to know you. And hopefully we would have like mutual friends, mutual acquaintances who can give us some reference or some background, some context, right? Because the same way I'd expect him to do his research about me, because I could say a lot of stuff and I could be lying. He needs to do his research. I need to do my research, So I get that when you meet someone, they could still have been talking to someone else before, doing stuff like that. Great.
So in that 3 months that you mentioned, they're getting to know you and they may be getting to know other people. That's
fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay. That's fine. Because I'm not sleeping with you. I'm just talking with you. I'm like, you could do whatever you want, but just know that every road has an end. So I'm spending time. I'm not bringing you home. Mm-hmm. My child is not going to hear me talking on the phone with you, right? Because I don't know what your intentions are.
Mm. So when you say you're not talking on the phone with them?
In front of my child.
Oh, in front of your child. I would say, how is he going to get to know you? As far as speaking.
Yeah. So no phone calls beyond a certain hour, because every phone call that's beyond, let's say, 10, 11 o'clock. But what are you talking about past 10, 11 o'clock at night?
The Bible.
The Bible, okay.
There's a lot of things in the Bible to talk about.
Candy, okay. Okay, we're hearing this, right? Yes.
Very
Bible,
possible.
The Bible, very possible. It's true.
Listen, there's a lot
especially
to talk
if he's
about.
a pastor.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, you'll be being sarcastic.
Sure.
Of course.
Right,
Sarcastic.
we are. It's just interesting to see how relationships have evolved over generations, over times, the definitions of words, the talking phase when really there weren't. You don't hear too much courting. It's starting to come back again, being dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, engagement, then to be husband and wife. How these words have changed over time based on, I guess, society and how we are being socialized to come together. And it's just making it harder and harder.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's harder. I would say it's different. My mantra, I would say mantra, but my taking my words from what God says of me. He says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I feel like, especially as women, we have to realize that if anything good is definitely worth waiting for. And that includes, waiting on yourself, allowing yourself to be by yourself and to understand that you don't need to have someone with you just because other people think you do. Because it could be that this is not the time for someone to be with you, because you need to work on your own self-growth. And of course, we all, especially single women, they tell you all the reasons why you're still single. You haven't done enough self introspection. You need to pray some more. You need to get busy. You need to all sorts of stuff, right? But ultimately it's going to boil down to what is God's plan for you and God's timing for you, not what other people think you should be doing, but really what God wants for you at this time.
Yeah, that's very, I think, appropriate. What does God have for you? Where does he want you to be? And we're all going to say we're great people.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to say, oh, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the prize. I'm the trophy. You know, maybe you're the one that needs to work.
True.
You know, you need to do the growth. You know, you need work to be done. And you can't, you need to spend that time, as you mentioned, with God so that you can grow and see what his will is for you.
Yeah. And
versus
then,
what other people will.
right. And then when you have grown, we also be able to acknowledge that you have grown, that when you meet someone, it's not, if the relationship doesn't work out, you can look back now and say, yes, this happened, but also not blame yourself. And I think that women, we blame ourselves a lot for any sort of relationship failure, you know, more so than a man, because, you know, the men move on pretty quickly.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah, a lot of times they do. I have brothers, I have lots of male cousins growing up around males. And one of the things that I've noticed with especially males, you know, when they go through those down times and, you know, even those relationship things that don't work out, most times they don't sit around moping. They get up and they do stuff, right? They might go bounce ball, they might go play soccer, but definitely they do stuff. Me personally, that's what I do. You know, I get out, go out. I'm not going out to meet other people, but I definitely do stuff that is uplifting for me.
So the same way your brothers got up and did stuff, you did too. And so I think that to say men don't, I don't know if you're saying women do mope around more than men do, because I see women also, if they ended a relationship, they're not moping, they keep going, keep it moving. I mean, I think it's depending on the personality type. You have those who are very dependent on relationships, regardless if they're men or women. When a relationship ends, it can be very traumatic for them,
Right.
where they are moping. You know,
Right.
you see men who
Right.
take a while to get back to in their groove, and
Right.
and some women do as well. I don't know if there's one over the other as far as the sexes, who take ending relationships harder than another. I think it's all about personality.
It is, but they're different coping mechanisms. So whereas for women, we are taught to, when these things happen, we go more into the self-reflection, we talk to our friends, we talk to our families, we try to understand.
Men do the same thing too. I have men who come to me like my friends.
Okay, your
who are
friends.
men,
Your
who are like,
friends.
help me to understand.
Okay,
this."
so my friends who are men, they will, they'll ask me some questions, but while they're doing that though, they're going out and let's say they're exercising, which creates natural endorphins. They are continuing to pursue, because they're like, after a time, they just say, well, you know, I can't do anything about that. You know, I've tried reaching out to her, I've tried whatever. So I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to continue doing X, Y, Z. And it doesn't mean, and they will say, okay, it doesn't mean that I still love her, but I'm going in this direction, right? Whereas I find with women, we will, theoretically, we know that it has ended, but then how do we move forward emotionally? And I feel like, whereas the men, they don't treat with the emotions the same way that we do, and the emotions can become very crippling for us. So I find that we can both learn from each other. And I guess, again, having grown up around more males than females, I have a similar mindset as far as moving on from a relationship. I'm not saying that I'm not hurt, and I'm not saying that I do reach out to my girlfriends and stuff. But each time, you know, I've learned, and God has shown me, you know, there are things that you can do to just keep it moving.
Right.
And I don't have to belittle him. I don't have to walk around cursing out all men. I mean, I've done that at a point in my life. I'm not going to lie. I don't have to do it anymore, because I realize, again, everyone is different, like you said, and everyone is on their own personal journey.
Absolutely. Well, this was great.
I know. I can't believe the time.
Yeah, the time has gone by quickly. And, you know, we can talk about these type of things all the time, all day long, because I believe these are topics that hold dear to us because of where we are both in our lives as far as single women. And and looking for where God has, what God has to give to us as a form of blessing, which could be to be in a relationship or to continue work in his vineyard, as they would say. And so thank you, Ayana.
Thank you, Candy.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who is listening to our
Black, Beautiful, and Brave.
Black, Beautiful, and Brave podcast. Continue to listen to us. And hey, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to do so on our platforms. And so we appreciate you guys. So we're going to say Triple B
out.
And there you have it, Queens. Another empowering episode of Triple B in the books.
Remember, the revolution doesn't stop when the episode ends. Keep spreading that Black, beautiful, and brave energy wherever you go.
Stay connected with us on social media. And don't forget to share this podcast with your fellow queens who need a dose of empowerment.
Until next time, keep shining, keep slaying, and keep being unapologetically you.
That's right. Stay fierce, stay fabulous, and remember, your voice is your power. Use it to change the world.
Peace, love, and empowerment, queens. Catch you on the flip side.